Well, it's Friday, and I think the best way to close out the week is with some good news, and we have some of that today, specifically for Nintendo getting the message from Metroid Dread. Now, remember, before, when we first saw Metroid Dread, there was a lot of excitement. People were really looking forward to the release of this game, but it was a 2D Metroid, and while the last 2D Metroid didn't go over the best on the 3DS in terms of sales. So there has been some concern, okay, can we get a breakout from one of these Metroid games to show Nintendo that, yes, we want more Metroid here going forward? Well, it looks like Nintendo got the message because they told us exactly how many copies of Metroid Dread sold, and I gotta say, it's pretty impressive. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton, and if you're new here to the Spawn Wave Plus channel, make sure you subscribe down below. So let's head over here. This was posted up, we'll go to this one first. This is from Matt Piscatella with the NPD group. They did report all of the sales for the US the month of October. We'll go over that more in depth on Monday for Newswave because we got the entire charts. Far Cry 6 was at the top, kind of as expected, but Metroid Dread wasn't too far behind. It was actually number 3 with just physical copies. Keep that in mind. Digital copies are not counted when we go through the charts from Nintendo in the eShop, whereas other games, like a Far Cry 6, will have their digital games counted because that is provided to the NPD, whereas Nintendo just doesn't for whatever reason. But we can see this here from Matt. US NPD software for the Switch. Launch month physical dollar sales of Metroid Dread nearly doubled those of the previous franchise best Metroid Prime. That, once again, just being physical copies, which is actually pretty impressive if you consider Metroid Prime was just a physical release. There was no digital release alongside of it, whereas we're pretty sure we're almost 50-50, I think anyway, when it comes to digital releases next to physical. We've seen several companies like EA even say that they're selling more digitally than they are physically now, and let's face it, the Switch, I mean, kind of leans into the whole digital age with its portable nature, and you don't want to be carrying around a bunch of cartridges, but nonetheless, good start here from Metroid Dread, doubling what we had with Metroid Prime with physical sales. You add in digital and you think, wow, that could triple or even quadruple what we had before with Metroid Prime. Well, I went back and looked. The numbers for Metroid Prime when it debuted back in 2002, it's about 360,000, at least that's what I could find. So we figure, okay, to more than double it, we'd have to be above like 750,000 copies sold. Well, it looks like Nintendo provided numbers, and this was interesting because usually this screams confidence from a publisher or developer, whoever, when they want to share sales information. When they don't want to share sales information, there is a bit of a, oh, okay, what's going on here? Now, it appears that Doug Bowser actually shared how many copies have sold in the US so far, and we're still trying to figure out clarification, as Gene says here, around digital sales being included. I'm just going to assume that digital is included here, but we can see this from Gene Park says 854,000 copies sold for Metroid Dread in October. That's US only. This does not count any other part of the world. Like, we've seen the sales in Japan. I think overall in Japan, we're probably looking at about 200,000 copies so far that sold there. If you take the physical sales as well as the digital and combine them, we have to estimate for digital, but I think a safe bet is about 200,000 copies there. And then, of course, every other part of the world added in. I think we're right around 1.3 million to 1.5 million copies sold of Metroid Dread so far. And it's just the beginning of November. There's like still an entire holiday. And if you play into the bet that Sean made, we still have like 9 months in 2022 as well. I'm thinking he might want to start opening up that Balan Wonderworld, but still plenty of time to see that bet through there, like I said, as we head into next year. But 854,000 copies sold for Metroid Dread in the US in October. That is very good. That's more than I thought was going to happen here, specifically because I figured the holiday is when we would see a pretty good push for Metroid Dread, but just in general, Metroid, the reason this bet exists is because it's not a massive seller for Nintendo, and 854,000 copies is pretty good for any game, really, unless it's like a Call of Duty, a Battlefield, any of these games that have access to all the different platforms, for the most part, usually minus the Switch. But selling to just the Switch audience in the US, it being a 2D Metroid game that already was under scrutiny because of that at a $60 price, seems like Nintendo is getting the message, I would say here, which is great news for Metroid fans because I have a feeling the next couple of years are going to be very interesting for Metroid fans. It seems like Nintendo is going to be lining up several releases for the Metroid franchise, one after the other, with Dread being the latest one. And I feel like if Samus Returns, if they had got that on the Switch, I think it would have done better. It came out on the 3DS, and a lot of people had already kind of moved on from the 3DS to the Switch because that was the new exciting thing. I get development time. They probably decided when they were starting development to play it safe and put it on the 3DS for budget and obviously the audience that was already established there. But maybe if they could do it all over again, that game would have been developed for the Switch. But we can see this from Emily Rogers. I'm pretty confident Metroid Prime 1 wrapped up development over the summer. I hope we still see the entire trilogy on Switch, but Prime 1 is clearly finished. So this is playing into the rumor that's been going around that Retro Studios has actually been working on a remaster/remake of Metroid Prime. It's something in the middle, apparently, and I've been hearing more and more about this, and I'm starting to get more and more confident that we're going to see this thing probably at the beginning of next year, like in a early 2022 direct to kind of set it up for release later on that year. I don't think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be ready for next year. I'm starting to think that game is going to be towards the end of this generation overall. Like, it could even be a cross-gen game, I guess, but I think that's going to be one of the last big blowouts for the Switch. Could be showing up holiday 2023, but I think next year, one of their big releases is going to be this Metroid Prime remaster remake, and it sounds like they're pretty happy with what they've seen from this game, but the fact that it's going into, or finishing up quality assurance and all this, things are wrapping up, yeah, that typically lends itself to what Nintendo likes to do with these games. Think about with Dread. They didn't reveal it until it was months out from release. I think we're going to have this game revealed to us, and then months later, it'll be coming out, maybe even over the summer. But that's pretty exciting for Metroid fans because there clearly is confidence with Nintendo now after sharing those numbers with Doug Bowser, and that tells me that if Nintendo feels they can continue to build on top of what they've done here with Metroid Dread and another big release next year, another big release the year after that, we could see, I would say, Metroid games consistently now going forward, considering the sales continue in an upward fashion. And overall, I'm pretty happy to see it. It's cool to see Metroid Dread, a 2D Metroidvania game, do very, very well here in 2021. It gives me hope, one, for the future of Metroid, but also for the future of 2D games, like high-quality 2D games. To me, not every game has to be this big 3D open-world style game. Castlevania, for example, could do this. They could do a high-quality 2D style Castlevania game that they put a lot of time and effort into, and it comes out looking really, really good, and charge full price for it. I think Metroid, for example, is starting to set that precedent once again, that even if you're a smaller indie developer, it doesn't have to be a $15 2D Metroidvania-style game that you cut some corners on possibly to get it out. You could spend some extra time and charge a bit more if it is a high-quality 2D game. But let me know what you guys think about all of this down below. Metroid Dread off to a good start, but will it touch 3 million copies by the end of next September? My money is on we're going to see Sean play through Balan Wonderworld here sooner rather than later. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.